five students in class. We will now start our conference or our meeting because the discussion today is very important uh, for you to be guided of what you're supposed to do for the learning task this week. I'll be posting the learning task on Thursday, and the deadline will be set on Wednesday next week. Okay, so it is very important that this video conference has to be conducted, considering that our last topic for finals, okay, will involve computations, will involve statistics and mathematics. Okay, so I hope that the others will follow. Okay, but without them, we can even without them, we still have to start our conference. So first and foremost, I would like to, though I think she's not in class, I would like to congratulate. Yeah, before that, sorry, I almost forgot the prayer. So may we have the opening prayer first before we start our meeting, and may I request Dayan, Miss Dayag, to lead us the opening prayer. Dayag, Miss Dayan, please.
Here we say in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father God, we thank you for this wonderful day. May you guide us and bestow us the blessings, that the everyday blessings. In this we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Dayan, for the prayer. Okay, allow me just to fix some issues in my speaker because I think there's an echo. Okay, so um, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate. I already have computed your grade, and allow me to congratulate the person who got the highest grade for midterms, and that is no other than Miss Natividad. Okay, Miss Natividad got the highest grade for midterms, and I think she has the highest grade from among all students enrolled in assessment of learning one. So in both codes, okay, Shantana got the highest grade. Should I announce your grade, Shantana? Would it just be okay for you that I'll announce your grade?
Sir, wag na po.
Ha?
Sir, wag na, sir.
Wag na. Okay, sige. So also allow me to congratulate also those who got line of 9 for midterms. Okay? Allow me to announce those who got line of 9 for midterms. We have the following: Jennifer Dulin. We also have, of course, Shantana Natividad. We also have Villanueva Kathleen Camille. Okay. So just those. There are only 3 students who got line of 9, okay, for midterms. I'll be posting your grades later in the LMS for you to be aware of your standing and for you to be motivated to keep going and of course to improve your performance considering that you have to maintain a grade of 83 in your professional course, and it happens that assessment of learning one is a professional course that you really need to have, you really need to meet the required grade of 83. Okay, so um, this also to announce that considering that I will be your teacher still for assessment of learning too, whether you like it or not. I just had a confirmation from from our academic dean that I'll still be handling assessment of learning too. And I know that most of you are not yet done, though I already have made mention of the requirement uh, during our first week of meeting or during the first week of the semester. I know that there are some of you who failed, or most of you failed to attend to the requirement. So that would mean that I will no longer be asking you to submit the requirement for this semester, but that requirement will be submitted. Will certainly be submitted as similar requirement for assessment of learning too. Okay? Okay ba 'yon? Meron ba nag-start sa inyo nung sa worksheets, yung sa online course? Hello, kayo po ba ay gising?
Sir, wala pa po ata, sir.
Ano? Ano ulit, Dayan? Wala pang nakagawa.
Sir, hindi pa po namin nagagawa, sir.
What was the reason why you didn't do it yet? Why you didn't do it? Considering that that has been mentioned during the preliminary term? May I know the reason? Why is it that you fail to attend to the requirement, even if that has been mentioned during the preliminary term or during the first week of the semester? May I request everyone to please turn on your camera? Again, may I request everyone to please turn on your camera? Okay, may I know the reason why you failed to attend to the requirement? Though the requirement has been discussed during the first week of the semester? May I know the reason? Ano ang kadahilanan? Kaya nga sinabi ko ng first week pa lang, kasi wala pa lang naka-attend sa inyo. Yeah, anyway, please take note that the requirement will still be asked of you, okay, for your assessment of learning too. I'll be asking you to submit that during the midterms. So make sure that during your free time, make sure that that you are going to attend to such a requirement. Okay? Again, as I have said, whether you like it or not, I will be your teacher for assessment of learning too. Okay, so we now proceed to our discussion on analysis and validation. Okay, so please take note. May we just have a review of the important topics or chapters of the courses that we already have discussed. Remember that we're done discussing about table of specification. And we said that the table of specification is important so that we would know, okay, we would know what questions or yeah, what questions should we have to ask our learners to measure the achievement of the learning outcomes. The table of specification will help us identify important skills that we need to measure whether these skills are being attained or being achieved by our students. And when we say skills, these are what we mean by the supposed learning outcomes that need to be achieved, that need to be attained by our students. Now, after discussing about the table of specification, take note that part of that table of specification is the identification of the test type that we need to develop for our students. Hence, we discuss about the different test types, the different types of tests, the objective test type and and the subjective test types. We discuss about the multiple choice test, multiple response test, forced choice test or true or false, structured response, matching type of test, and other types of tests. Okay, we made mention of all of those. There's a need for you to be aware of the guidelines, okay, that a teacher should observe when writing a test, because students, the type of test that we ask our students to complete would certainly affect the way they are, the way they are to measure the achievement of learning outcomes, or the way they are to measure how far they have understood the lesson. Okay, so that's how important, okay, the guidelines are. Now, after discussing the guidelines, we also made mention, it's a need, okay, that we need to discuss about item analysis. Students already did the test, they already took the test. Okay, now what's next? The next step that teachers should do is to look into whether the tests that students have completed are useful or functional. Whether the tests that they have completed would speak about the attainment of learning outcomes, or would speak about their real understanding, or real understanding or achievement of skill, okay, that teachers, the teachers have taught them. Okay, so it says here that item analysis ensures the usefulness and functionality of a test. Kailan natin masasabi na ang isang pagsusulit ng isang pagsusulit o isang eksaminasyon ay matatawag na ay napakahalaga, o di kaya ay mayroong silbi? What measures, or what do we mean by what do we mean by the usefulness or functionality of a test? When is a test useful?
Sir,
When is a
excuse
test
me po.
functional? Yes.
Sir, hindi po ata lumilipat yung slide nyo, sir.
Sorry. Talagang hindi siya lumilipat. Kasi nasa first slide pa lang tayo. Talagang hindi siya lumilipat kanina kasi nasa first slide pa lang tayo. Okay?
Sorry po, sir.
Okay, so as I have said a while back, okay, it's through the item analysis that we can ensure, okay, the functionality and usefulness of a test. Now, let me ask you this question. When is a test useful, or when is a test functional? Remember that your responses to these questions will be recorded as part of your participation in today's discussion. Anyone? You may turn on your camera, please. We are having an open forum for to digest, okay, the statement provided in the PowerPoint presentation a while back, mentioning that that it's through item analysis that the functionality and usefulness of a test is being ensured. When is a test helpful, and when is a test functional? Anyone would like to answer the question? Kailan nagkakaroon ng silbi ang pagsusulit, o kailan nagkakaroon ng gamit ang pagsusulit? When is it helpful? When is it functional? Anyone?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Kathleen?
For me, sir, test is helpful or beneficial if it provides immediate feedback na nagpapa-improve po sa mga student. Ganun po.
I think that's a good answer. Kathleen said that a test is helpful and functional if it provides feedback of if it would provides feedback that would help students what to improve and how to improve. Yeah, I like the answer of Kathleen when she said that a test is helpful, or a test is functional when it provides feedback, okay, so that students would know what to do and how to do to improve his or her academic performance, or his or her academic achievement. That is correct, Kathleen. Thank you for sharing that out. Any more answer to the question?
Sir,
Yes, we listen to Daryl first, and after Daryl, we have Shantana. Daryl?
I think tests can be helpful when it reach your objective and goals, sir. Dun sa parang curriculum. Ganun po.
Okay, that's also a good response to the question. That tests, okay, tests are functional or helpful when they would help measure the achievement of learning outcomes or learning objectives. Okay, that's a good answer also, Daryl. Okay, we listen to Shantana.
Sir, same point lang po with Daryl when it is aligned with the learning outcome, sir.
Okay, when tests are aligned with the learning outcomes, then that would mean that it would be helpful to check whether we are successful when it comes to our teaching or whether our students are successful when it comes to their learning. Okay, thank you, Shantana. Any more answer to the question? So we have Kathleen, we have Daryl, and Shantana, who made mention of the importance of the reason or of the conditions that will make a test functional or a test helpful. According to Kathleen, she said that tests are helpful or functional if they could provide feedback that would allow learners to improve or to know what to learn, to know what to improve and to know how to improve. Then also Daryl made mention that if the test would help teachers check the attainment of the learning outcomes, then that would mean that the test is helpful and functional. And that is also being seconded by Shantana. Okay, so thank you for your responses. We continue our discussion. Okay, now we proceed to the definition of item analysis. What is item analysis? Item analysis is a statistical technique which is used for selecting and rejecting the items of the test on the basis of their difficulty value and discriminated power. So it's through item analysis that we could be able to determine whether the items or the tests that we ask our learners complete, okay, are difficult or easy. Whether the tests that we ask our learners to complete could discriminate who the advanced learners are and who are the resource learners. As we progress with our presentation, we will learn about the definition of difficulty index and discriminating index. Dito papasok yung math part ng assessment of learning. Okay? So that's why we said, di ba? Remember that item analysis is only done for tests which are objective types. For objective test types, we make use of item analysis to check whether the questions we provided in the tests are valid, okay? Whether these questions are adequate to measure, okay, students' achievement of the learning outcome. Why do we have to conduct an item analysis for paper and pencil tests or objective types of tests? Because we said that objective types of tests can actually be recycled or can actually be reused. But we cannot just reuse them and taught, or we cannot just reuse them as how we have used them in the previous examination. Before we use a certain objective type of test, we need to do an item analysis first so that we would know which of these items, which of these questions should be retained, which of these questions should be revised, and which of these questions should we discard or should we no longer include in the succeeding test that we would ask our students participate into. Okay, so that's the purpose or that's the reason why we do or the definition of item analysis. Now, with that definition, what is the purpose then of item analysis? First, it would evaluate the quality of each item as the quality of items determines the quality of test. Of course, it's through item analysis that we can check whether is this question is of quality. And what measures quality? Quality is being measured at the quality of a test is being measured if that test would allow you to measure students' achievement of the learning outcome, particularly the promotion of the higher order thinking skills. Um, a certain test item is of quality if it's reliable and valid. When we say reliable, meaning to say it really measures what that item is intended to measure, and it is valid when it really measures the content or it really targets the content, the learning content that we have taught our learners. Okay. The second purpose is it will suggest ways of improving, okay, the measurement of a test. Okay, should we improve the type of test that we have just asked our students complete, and how should we improve this test? And of course, help with understanding why certain tests predict some criteria but not others. It would also allow us to learn whether our test items are enough, okay, to predict, okay, the attainment of criteria for understanding, the attainment of the learning outcomes intended for students to achieve or to meet. Fourth, identifies ambiguous or misleading items. We will be doing computation here when we are going to compute difficulty index and discrimination index. Then out from the result of the computation, then we would know whether these items are ambiguous, and because they are ambiguous and misleading, they need to be deleted or they need to be discarded from, okay, the list of items in the test question. And number five, determine which test items have to be revised or discarded. Alin yung mga mananatili, alin yung mga kailangang baguhin, at alin yung mga kailangang wag nang isali sa pagsusulit. So these are the different purposes of item analysis. And it's very, very important that we do item analysis before we decide whether to recycle or to reuse existing test items, existing examinations that we prepare. Okay? Kaya kung mapansin ninyo, okay, may mga pagkakataon na inuulit yung mga tanong sa prelims sa midterms, inuulit yung mga tanong sa midterms sa finals because those questions have been repeated because based on the item analysis being done by the teacher, it could be, okay, it really measures or it's really of quality because it's reliable and valid. Okay? Now, um, these are the phases of preparing a test. We have the tryout phase. This one is after doing the table of specification. After doing the table of specification, okay, sinabi natin na we already draft the test. Then after drafting the test, we have to do the tryout phase. Meaning to say, we ask a certain group of students, okay, to answer or to complete the test. And that's what we mean by tryout phase. Now, after students would complete would complete the examination, that's the time that we do the item analysis phase. Then after doing the item analysis phase, we do the item revision phase. So these are the three phases of preparing a test. Okay? Titignan natin yan isa-isa mamaya. Okay, now, before we proceed to the computation part of item analysis, may we have an open forum for clarificatory questions if you would like to ask or if you would like to share something.
May question po ako, sir.
Yes, Daryl?
Kung yung item analysis po is involved math, sa paggagawa po ng question, what makes the other question valid before, tapos sa next exam po, kunwari is hindi na siya valid. Nalilito lang po ako dun sa computation part. Bakit po kailangan ng
Which computation part?
yung sa item analysis po, sir? Kung magiging valid yung item. Kasi may mga items, sir, na valid noon, tapos hindi na siya mare-repeat sa ibang exam. Hindi po ba siya parang tinitignan lang ganun, sir?
Hindi, there's a computation part for that. And we will follow a certain legend on what to for example, there's a computed value. Then out from the computed value will be our reference to decide whether the set test item is valid or not. Okay, ituturo natin later yung computation therein.
Yes.
Okay, kasi nakadepende ang validity and reliability ng isang test item ay nakadepende doon sa dami ng mga sumagot ng tama doon sa nasabing tanong. Okay, that's why we need to have a tryout phase of the questions we have drafted so that we would know whether the test item is valid or reliable. Jennifer? Jennifer?
Hello, sir. Just a realization lang po, sir. Kasi
Wait lang po. Just a realization lang po, sir. Kasi during our senior high school, we are also doing this item analysis na kung saan po, dun sa mga, lalo na dun sa mga complicated subjects, sir, parang binibilang namin yung mga items na kokonti yung tama, tapos kung ano po yung frequency niya, tapos dun ganun din po sa mga mali.
Yes.
Then, yun lang, sir.
Yeah, we will be doing that in the succeeding in the next part of our discussion. So we really have to count the number of those who failed, for example, and then the number of those who didn't get the correct answer, and the number of those who did the correct answer or who answered the item correctly. Joshua?
Hello sir, good afternoon po.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, may tanong lang po ako sir. Sir, healthy pa ba yung test item kapag yung mga items na test puro enumeration sir, 1 to 50?
1 to 15 enumeration?
Sir, based on my experience kasi sir, nung nasa high school ako sir, naranasan ko yun.
That is not a valid because it does not really di ba we said that the exam should equally represent the different skills that need to be developed among our students. If you would do enumerative essay, okay, then enumeration, then that would mean that you are only targeting the recall skills or remembering skills of the students, which is the first level of the lower order thinking skills. If the exam is purely enumeration, then that defeats the purpose of helping students to really think critically. Okay? Kaya nga sabi natin doon sa ating diskusyon, sa ating talakayan dati, na dapat ang mga pagsusulit, lalo na mahabang pagsusulit na binibigay natin sa ating mga mag-aaral, ay dapat yung mga pagsusulit na mayroong iba't ibang uri ng pagsusulit, mayroong iba't ibang uri ng test. Hindi lamang nag-iisang uri ng test. Dapat maraming uri kasi para nang sa ganun ay talagang makita natin or mabigyan natin ng pagkakataon ng ating mga estudyante na masagot na makasagot ng tama dun sa ating mga pagsusulit na binibigay sa kanila. Dayan?
Sir?
Yes, Dayan.
Sir, hello po, sir.
Hello, Dayan.
Sir, tanong ko lang po kung, di ba, nag-item analysis po. As a teacher po, ano po ba yung kinukuha niya sa, di ba po, nag-test na po. And then, nag-item analysis na po. Then, magte-test po. For examination po, di ba, may uulitin po. Ano po yung kinukuha niya, sir? Yung tama po ba? O yung mali ng mga estudyante? Kung saan po ba sila mababa? Or kung saan po sila mataas?
Yeah, Dayan, that's what we are going to discuss in the succeeding presentation. Of which items should we have to discard, which items should we have to retain, which items should we need to revise before we include them in the final examination that we are going to create. And that involves a certain computation. We will discuss that in a while. Yes, Christina?
Hello, sir. Sir, so po ang natutunan ko po ngayon sa item analysis ay yung naiintindihan ko po sa item analysis is kapag po ang reliability ng isang test is low, it means low din yung validity niya. Ganun po, sir.
No, there's a separate definition for that. When we say validity, we're referring to whether the test items or the test itself measures the learning content being discussed in class. Okay, that's what we mean by validity. When we say reliability, do these questions really measure? The skills or the skills or the achievement of the learning outcome? Okay, pwedeng mangyari na valid ang isang pagsusulit dahil balanse naman ang pagkakaatake niya doon sa mga nilalamang pagkatuto na tinalakay ng guro. Pero hindi rin ibig sabihin na porke balanse balanse yung mga nilalamang pagkatuto na naging coverage ng exam ng pagsusulit, ay hindi rin naman ibig sabihin na reliable siya, na pwede siyang maging basehan para makita kung na-achieve ba yung learning outcome or hindi. Okay? So magkaiba yung dalawang ito. Okay? Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na the difficulty index. The difficulty index is what we are referring to the difficulty index is what we mean by reliability. And when we say validity, we mean the discriminating index. Okay, so we will define that as we proceed with our presentation. Okay, Christina?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
So we continue now our discussion. Anyway, no one is raising his or her hand to
Ay,
share.
sir.
Yes, Shantana.
Sir, di ba given po na may three phases yung preparing a test?
Mhm.
Tapos, sir, kunwari given na yung date ng exam, may advisable days po ba kung kailan mo pwedeng i-start na yung mag-prepare ka for exam para matapos mo yung tatlong phases?
Okay. No, wala namang, there's no prescription as regards this. Okay, but it really depends on the teacher. Ngayon kasi parang it's no longer a requirement, for example, in private schools. Depende sa eskwelahan if they would require their teachers to do item analysis or hindi. If they would require their teachers to do table specification or hindi. These are things that schools need to decide into whether to require teachers do the TOS, whether to require the teachers do the item analysis. But we are discussing this one because in public schools they are doing this. We are discussing this one because we see the value of why we need to do item analysis. Kaya nga sabi natin, bakit kailangan ng item analysis sa mga objective test types? Sinabi natin kanina, dahil ang mga objective test types ay pwedeng maulit o pwedeng ulit-ulitin. Pwedeng i-recycle, pwedeng i-reuse sa mga iba pang mga examinasyon. Kaya nga kailangan mo natin gumawa ng item analysis para makita natin kung alin ba dito ang dapat nating i-include at alin yung mga kailangan i-discard. Because remember, as we have said in our discussion as regards guidelines, most of the examinations that teachers are asking students to complete are teacher-made exams. And because they are teacher-made exams, it's very important that we do the item analysis so that we could be able to refine and we could be able to prepare a good exam for our students. And what makes a good exam? It's reliable and at the same time, it's valid. Okay? Pero walang prescription as regards when to do it and how to do it. Meron bang kailangan ganito? It depends on the school where you're going to teach later. Okay?
Okay po, sir.
Bakit can't share your screen? Ay, sorry. Okay, sige. Nakashare na ba?
Wala pa po.
No, sir.
Wala pa?
Yes, sir.
Entire screen. Meron na?
Okay na po, sir.
So we now proceed to the preliminary steps in doing item analysis. This one. The first step is, di ba, they are done already, answering all the questions. Our first step is to rank the scores of the students from the highest score to the lowest score. Is this norm reference or criterion reference? We rank the scores of the students from the highest score to the lowest score.
Sir, norm po?
Okay,
Right.
good. This is a norm reference. Okay, that's why we said that doing item analysis will also require the teachers to be aware of norm reference measurement. So item analysis is actually a norm reference measurement of the validity and reliability of tests. Okay, so after we rank them, okay, we select and identify the top 27 of the performing group or 25%. 27% kung kukunti nag-take. Siguro kung 50 ang nag-take, okay, kung 50 lang ang nag-take na examinees, though wala namang prescription about that, we better make use of the larger percentage, 27%. Kung 100 and up siguro, we can, kung 50 and up, 51 and up, we can do the 25%, okay, performing group. And the bottom 27% or 25% group, okay, from the total test takers. So, na-arrange na natin, no, according to, from highest score to lowest score. So, yung kukunin natin ngayon yung 25% nung 25% nung top 25% nung highest score and top 25% dun sa nakakuha ng lowest score. Okay, tapos yung mga matitira, we set aside the remaining 46% or 50% as they will not be used for the item analysis. Okay, and after that, we tabulate the number of students in upper group and lower group based on their selected choice per item. Allow me to demonstrate this one. Okay. Allow me to open first an Excel sheet. I'll open an Excel sheet. There are math majors in the team, tama? You help me, okay? Suppose, saglit. Kunin ko yung score ninyo nung nung midterms. I'll get your scores during the midterm exam, scores in the midterm exam as an example. Okay. Allow me to share this screen. Okay, nakikita ninyo yung Excel sheet na?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. So, ang gawin natin is, this is student 1, 2. Okay? This is student, I'll zoom it. Okay, this is a student number. And this is their score in the midterm exam. Okay, so 1, 2, we'll give them a number, student number. Then we say we have to, idagdag ko yung isang idagdag ko yung isang klase. Dagdag natin yung isang klase. Okay, sige. So, we add. Okay, so ito na po. There are 52 students, okay, who took the exam. Okay, now, what we do now is, as it says there, ito, sinasabi dito, we select and identify the top 25% performing group. That's 52 students, so we do 25% of 52 students. So we compute, how to compute that? We have total number of students is 52, tama? Tama ba? 52.
Yes, sir.
Tapos, we multiply it to 0.25. Tama? Joshua, your math major, tama? Okay, so meaning to say, we'll do the, sorry for that. We forgot to, sige, balikan natin. We forgot to arrange this one from highest to lowest pala. So we arrange this from highest to lowest. Okay, we sort it from largest to highest. Okay, yun na yun. So we have this one. Okay, then we compute the 25% as a sample. We have 52 times 0.25. So that would mean that we will separate those top 13 in the upper group and top 13 in the lower group. Okay. So top 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. So top 13. Okay. So yun lang ba ating pipiliin? Top 13. Okay. I-highlight natin yan. Ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, top 13. Sorry. Top 13, when we say top 13, we mean the scores, no? Okay, the scores, sorry. Top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Saan yun dito? Sa 21. Bye, ma'am. Okay, top 13. Okay, then below 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, no, 57, 13. Okay? Then, we will disregard this one already. Tama? Okay?
Yes, sir.
So disregard this one. Okay. So we have the lower group. This is the lower group. And this is the upper group. Okay. So we already got them, upper group and the lower group. Now, what's the next stage? Sabi dyan, tabulate the number of students in the upper group and lower group based on their selected choice per item. So gagawa tayo ng table ngayon. Okay? Ng table. Okay, for example, item 1. Objective type lang to ng test. Item 1. Then, tingnan natin si item 1. Tapos lagay natin yung option dito. Kung multiple choice siya, A, B, C, D. Sample lang ito. Okay? Then dito, ilagay natin kung ilan sa upper group. Ilan sa upper group ang nakakuha. Then ilan sa lower group ang nakakuha. Ang sumagot na masabing tanong. Okay? Okay? So the same, ganyan din gawin natin sa item 2. Meron din tayong A, B, C, D. O halimbawa, sa item 1, ang nakuha ang ilan dito? Mag-sample na lang tayo ha. Ilan lahat dito? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, 21 dito. So ilan, for example, distribute na lang natin. 21 dapat ang total nito, tama? Ilan ang sumagot halimbawa na, suppose ang tamang sagot dito ay letter B. Okay. Ilan ang 21 no, ang total ng upper group? Ilan ang sumagot sa upper group ng letter A? Halimbawa, 6, 5. Dito ay 8. Dito ay 8. Sorry. Dito ay 8. Okay. Ayaw. Biglang hindi nag-work ang aking okay na. Dito ay 8. Ay. Why is it not working? Bakit kaya? I can't encode anything in the Excel sheet. What might be the problem? Ayun niya.
Sir, ano po, i-double tap niyo po yung, yan po, i-double tap niyo, sir. Yan, sir.
Bakit kaya? Di ba dapat automatic yan?
Nagganyan din po yung sa nagloloko yun sa Excel.
Okay. Suppose this is 8. Oo nga, ayaw niya. Suppose this is 8. Okay, ito. 8 plus 5, 13, no? Okay. 10.
Yes, sir.
Ilan na lang? 21 lahat sila.
Sobra na po, sir.
Sobra na, sir.
Ilan dapat dito? Ilan pa? 13 plus, tama, sorry. O, 7. 7. O, ito, ilan na lang?
1, sir.
1. Okay. Okay, dito. Ilan lahat sila to? Ala, ayaw talaga niya mag-scroll din. Ano ba yan? Biglang ano? 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17. Okay. 17 dapat ang total. Halimbawa, 5 ang sumagot dito din. Dito, 5. Dito, 7. Dito, 0. Tama? 17. Okay. Dito naman, sabihin natin na ang sumagot sa upper group ay 2. Sumagot ay 2. Then dito ay 5. Ang tamang sagot dito ay letter C. Halimbawa lang. Ano yun? Parang feeling ko may napindot ako. Oh, ayaw niya. Ano kaya napindot ko? Ayaw talaga niya. Sige.
Try mo na lang pong i-highlight, sir.
Ha? Hindi, I'm trying to highlight it. Ayaw niya pa rin. Sige, ganyan. Ayaw niya. The problem with the Excel sheet. Sige. Ano ko na lang. Gamit lang tayo ng asterisk. Yes na ano. O ayaw din niya. Sige, asterisk na lang. So, 5. Ilan yung total nun? 70. Ilan yung total nun dito kanina?
21, sir.
Hindi, dito. Yung sa lower group.
17, sir.
17.
Ben,
17, sir.
Okay. So, 5 din dito. Then, 5 din dito. Then, this one. 17. Ay, hindi. Ito, tama. Dito pala dapat yun, no? Sorry.
Sir, kulang, sir.
Kulang to pala. 21 pala dito, no?
Yes, sir.
21, 17 dito. Sige. 2, 5, 5, 5. Dito, kulang ng 4. 3, 6, 8. Tama, 21 to? Sobra.
22, sir.
22 na po, sir.
Sobra. Before natin to. Okay, so halimbawa yan. Okay, na-table na natin siya. Okay, so we proceed to the next one. Babalikan natin yan mamaya. This is what we mean by checking the desirability of a test item. 3 criteria in determining the desirability of a test item, whether that test item is desirable to be included in the exam or not, okay, or desirable to be recycled or to be reused in the next exam or not. And there are 3 things that we need to do. We have to compute the difficulty of an item, that's DI. The second one is to compute the discriminating power of an item, that is D. How should we, anyway, we will check the symbol later. Discriminating power, and of course, the effectiveness of the alternatives. In today's discussion, we will proceed first to how to do or how to compute the difficulty index, and of course, the discriminating index of a test item. Okay, now this one. Please take note that when we say difficulty index, it pertains to the proportion of the number of students in the upper and lower groups who answered an item correctly. So it's a ratio between those who answered correctly the item and those who incorrectly answered the said item. So meaning to say, the lower the difficulty index, the higher is its level of difficulty. So ibig sabihin, kung konti lang ang nakasagot ng tama doon sa test item na iyan, ibig sabihin, mahirap yung examination, mahirap yung item. Item difficulty or the difficulty of an item is defined as the number of students who are able to answer the item correctly divided by the total number of students. Okay, so if you observe, okay, this will serve as our legend or our guide in determining whether later in computing the value of the difficulty index. This will be our guide to provide a descriptive value or a descriptive characteristic of the said test item, whether the said item is very difficult, moderately difficult, easy, very easy. And this legend also will tell us, okay, this is another legend, no, that will tell us also whether to revise the item to make it better, to make it desirable, or to discard. Ibig sabihin, tanggalin na dun sa examinasyon. Or retain because they are desirable, or revise or discard. Not all difficult items can be discarded. There are difficult items that just need to be revised. Not all easy items are to be discarded. There are also easy items that need to be revised. Okay? So, saglit lang ha, kasi may mga bisita. Saglit lang. O mag-pause muna kayo dyan. Mag-CR kayo muna. Okay, sige. Balik tayo dun sa diskusyon natin. So meaning to say, you look at this, meaning to say, the formula of, sige, from current slide. Okay, example, solve for the index of difficulty of an item if among the 50 test takers, only 35 students got the right response. Okay. DI equals R over N, where R is the total number of students who got the correct response. N is the total of the test takers. Okay. So, for example, there are 35 students who got the correct response, and there are 50 takers or sample size of student takers, then that is 0.70. With 0.70, using this legend or using this guide, okay, ano ang difficulty level ng exam? 0.70.
Easy, sir.
Okay, good. That is easy. Now, if we make use of this legend or guide, 0.70 is
Difficulty.
right
Retain.
difficulty naman.
Nare-retain siya, sir.
Right difficulty, so ibig sabihin, mare-retain yung exam. Okay, now, this is the point now. This one is the newest legend to use when we do item analysis. This one, I think, is the old one. Okay, now, if we really would like to know whether to retain or to merely retain or revise, okay, to know whether to retain or revise a certain item, we make use of this range. But this can also be used to determine the difficulty level of the item. Okay, pero tingnan natin dito. Okay. Sorry. Okay, we check this. Difficult items tend to discriminate between those who know and those who does not know. Okay, those who does not know the answer. Easy items cannot discriminate between those two groups of students, those who know and those who does not know. Hence, deriving a measure that will tell whether an item can discriminate between these two groups of students, the upper group and the lower group, is necessary. Such a measure is called an index of discrimination. Okay, when we say discrimination, index of discrimination, discrimination index, we have to compute or we have to know whether that question can clearly distinguish whether that student belongs to the upper group or that student belongs to the lower group. If that student is an advanced learner and that student is a resource learner. Okay? Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na discrimination index. Okay, now, we do this one, we try to compute the difficulty index of the following. Okay, now, we look at this. Ilan yung total lahat ng takers dito? Sige, ilan na nakasagot ng tama dito?
Item 1, sir.
Ha?
Item 1, sir.
Ilan na nakasagot ng tama?
8 plus 13, sir.
Okay, where did you get 13?
Upper group plus
Sa
lower
UG and
group.
LG po, sir.
Good, 13. Sorry.
The sum.
Equals 13. Okay, divided by
52, sir?
52.
52.
Okay. 52 ba? Sure ka? Ilan lahat ang takers sa sample dito? 17 plus
17 plus
21 plus
21.
o ilan?
17. 38 pala.
38. Okay. So, 0.34, tama? Okay, now, dito sa ating guide, 0.34 saan siya?
Difficult, sir.
Okay, difficult siya. Dito sa 0.34 dito,
Right
Sa difficulty.
difficulty. So, ibig sabihin, we will
retain.
retain. Okay, good. Sige. Okay, check muna natin yung iba pang complete natin yung mga iba pa. So, i-retain natin. Item number 2.
13, sir.
13 din, sir.
Okay, so
Same?
certainly the same siya, no? 13 divided
sir.
by 38. So, the same ang interpretation natin. So, halimbawa, palitan natin to. Halimbawa, ito ang tamang sagot. Check natin ito, no? Ito mismo. Halimbawa, ito ang tamang sagot. I-complete natin. Okay. 5. Tama?
Divided by 34. Sir. Yes,
Divided
sir.
by 38.
30.
13.5, 0.13. 0.13 saan siya dito?
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
Difficult, okay? Dito,
Difficult.
Difficult.
difficult. Anong kailangan?
Difficult, sir.
Revise or discard.
You have to revise or discard the item. Because you look, imagine only 5 got the correct answer out of 38. Diba? So, ibig sabihin, there's something wrong. Maybe, hindi maganda pagkakatanong nung tanong, nung item. So, kailangan natin i-revise. Kung hindi natin ma-revise, you better discard the item. Okay? Now, yung sasabi natin kanina na sasabi natin kanina dito na we cannot distinguish, okay? Kahit na dun sa difficulty index, we cannot really distinguish, okay? Whether the student belongs to the upper group or the lower group. Kaya kailangan natin i-compute ang kanyang discrimination index. What do we mean by discrimination index or DS? It is the difference between the proportion on the correct response between the learners in the upper group or UG and the proportion of students in the lower group or LG. Meaning to say, we make use of this formula. This is the first formula because there are two formula, okay, in computing discrimination index. The first one is DS equals parenthesis PU minus PI over N, where PU is the proportion of the number of learners in the upper group who got the correct response, and PI is proportion of the number of learners in the lower group who got the correct response. And N is the total number of test takers. Okay. Now, discrimination index measures how difficult an item is with respect to those in the upper 25% of the class and how difficult it is with respect to those in the lower 25% of the class. If the upper 25% of the class found the item easy, yet the lower 25% found it difficult, then the item can discriminate properly between these two groups. Tama? Because it's expected that those who are fast learners can really get the correct answer, and those who are resource learners it's also expected that they may not be able to answer the item correctly. Kaya ito yung pangalawang formula din, na DS equals DU minus DL, where DU is difficulty index of the upper group and the DL is the difficulty index of the lower group. So this is another formula. Okay, we just have to, unlike the first formula, that we need not to compute the difficulty index. Okay? We need not to compute the difficulty index. But this formula would require us to compute the difficulty index. Okay, to determine, okay, the discrimination index. Okay, for example, ito yung unang formula natin. Okay? DS equals PU minus PI over N. Okay. Now, saan galing yung 25 minus 11 over 50? 25 is there. Tama? Yan yung nakatamang sagot. 11 is there. Divided by 50.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Then 14 over 50. Then the answer is 0.28. Okay, this is the first formula. And the first formula, to interpret this one, to provide a descriptive value of this, we make use of this range, of this guide. So if that is 0.28, saan siya dyan?
Very discriminating.
Sir.
0.28,
Moderate.
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 Ay,
Moderate item, sir.
it's a
Moderate,
moderate
Moderate
sir.
item, sir.
Okay, it's a moderate item. Pero, this guide will not provide us, okay, will not give us, kung moderate item ang ilalagay niya, wala naman siya sinabi na we need to revise it or we need to reject it. Tama? Wala siyang sinasabi. Okay. Kaya nga, mas maganda kung ang gagamitin natin ay yung pangalawang formula. I explain ko later. But before we proceed to the second formula, allow me to explain this. That if the UG is, ano yan, greater than, less than?
greater
Greater
than.
than, sir.
Okay. If the UG or upper group is greater than the lower group, meaning to say, if those who got the correct answer in the upper group is greater than those who got the correct answer in the lower group, then there is positive discrimination. Ibig sabihin ng positive discrimination, it clearly suggests, it clearly discriminates who are those in the upper group and who are those in the lower group. Because it's expected that those in the upper group will get the correct answer. It is also expected that those in the lower group will not get the correct answer. That's positive discrimination. But there will be a negative discrimination if the number of those students under the upper group, okay, who got the correct answer is lesser than those who got the correct answer in the lower group. There's a negative discrimination. If there's a negative discrimination, then certainly the item has to be revised. That's the rule. But if the number of those students under the UG who got the correct answer equals to the number of students under LG who got the correct answer, then there is zero discrimination. That would mean that the item has to be discarded. Discarded, ibig sabihin, hindi na pwedeng i-include. I-reject na siya. Okay, klaro? Klaro? Correcto. May estudyante pa ako?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ulitin ko, no? Kapag positive discrimination, lagi may tanong lagi dito sa let, no? If it is positive discrimination, what will we do to the item? We
Discard, sir.
positive. What will we do? We
Revise.
okay, good. Retain the item. If negative discrimination, we
Card.
negative
Kasi
discrimination.
negative, sir. Kala ko zero.
Revise.
Revise, sir.
Revise. Zero discrimination, we
Discard. Reject.
okay. Ngayon, sinabi ko kanina, paano kapag ano sir, tong guide na ito, paano pag ganito ang mangyayari moderate item ang lalabas? What will we do with the moderate item? Should we retain it or should we discard it or should we revise it? This is the problem with this formula. Unlike the second formula, okay, this one, ito yung ano no, moderate item siya no. Okay. Okay, ito yung difficulty index. Discrimination index. Okay, sinabi natin yan kanina. Okay. Ngayon, kung sakaling ganito, kung yun ang formula na gagamitin natin, kailangan natin gumamit ng guide. Babalik tayo doon sa, okay, ito, itignan natin. Okay. The same yung kanina, kinompute natin yung difficulty index niya, 0.72, tama? And 0.72 kanina is, saan dito?
Easy.
Easy. Okay. Ngayon, ang discrimination index niya ay 0.28, moderate item. So, kailangan natin makita ang discrimination index niya at saka difficulty index. para malaman natin what action should we do. Dito papasok itong guide na ito. So kung moderately difficult siya, okay? Sabi natin, ano siya, no? Balikan natin yung kanina. Ano siya ulit? Sorry. Ano ulit ito? We have moderate siya, pero easy. Tama? Moderate item siya in the discriminating index, pero easy siya when it comes to difficulty index. So we need to make use of these two to identify what action should we do as a teacher. So if it is moderately difficult, while at the same time easy, what should we do?
Revise, sir. Moderately discriminating.
Okay, this one.
Moderately discriminating.
Easy siya.
Revise.
Discrimination level is moderately discriminating, then we need to revise the item. So this is the problem with the first formula. We need to look into, first, we need to look into the difficulty index and even the discrimination index. We need to compute the discrimination index and the difficulty index for us to know, especially for those moderately difficult and easy difficulty level of exams or items, for us to know what to do or what actions to take on the said item. Now, for the second formula, ito, ds equals du minus dl, r over n, and r over n. Okay? Ito, 25. Saan yung 25 over 25? Yan. Over 29. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, 11 over 21. That's 0.86 minus 0.52. The answer is 0.34. Okay, there's 0.34. The same sample, ha? Okay, ito ang guide natin. So, makikita natin kaagad kung anong gagawin natin. Tama? Okay, anong gagawin natin kung 0.34 siya?
Revise, sir.
Revise.
Okay, 0.34 is revise. The same ba dun sa isang kanina? Revise din, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, revise din kanina. Okay, sige. Gamitin natin tong i-compute natin tong dito sa, compute natin using this formula. The second formula yung sample natin kanina.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, include ata yun, sir.
Ha?
Sir, include ata.
The
Kasi
answer
0.34,
saan dapat siya?
include, sir.
Bakit siya include?
Sir, di ba, sir? 0.46 to 1.0.
Ay, yes, sir. Hindi po kasi makita kanina, sir.
Okay. 0.34 sagot
46
natin.
below 46 po kasi.
Negative 51 to 0.45.
Tapos 46 below po, sir.
Paano 46 below?
Bali, include po.
0.46 to 1 ito.
46, 45, 46, 45,
But
44,
as na siya
43, 42, 41, 39, hanggang papunta pong 34, sir. To
Okay.
1. So,
This one is? Kasi ito, 0.45 to?
Sir?
Ito.
Sir, negative 0.51 po ba yun, sir?
Yes, this is negative.
Tama din, sir. Revise din po.
Yan,
Oh,
sir.
sabi sa'yo eh. Okay. This is
Ipataas po yung
maliit
1
kasi,
point.
sir, maliit kasi po sa phone.
Okay, sige.
Hindi ko po nakita.
Okay, sige. But that's a good clarification. Okay, we compute this one. Okay, palitan natin tong isa. Tignan natin tong tong discrimination index nito. Okay, ano yung formula ulit natin? Ito. Okay. So, gagamit tayo ng ganito, no? Okay, tama ba? O dalawa? Isa lang. Dalawa dapat. Isa lang, tama lang. Okay? Ito. This is 8, tama? Tama, 8, no? 8 over 21, tama? Mag-respond naman kayo.
Yes, sir.
8 over 21 minus?
5.
5 over 17, sir.
5/17. Okay. Then, enter. The answer is 0.08. Okay, tingnan natin yung kanina doon. 0.08 saan siya?
Revise pa rin po, sir.
Revise pa rin, sir.
Okay, good. Revise pa rin
Here.
siya.
0.0, ay, oo.
0.08, tama?
Yes,
Tama
sir.
ba? Okay, revise pa rin. Okay? Good.
Yes,
Tingnan natin.
0.0.
Ito ano dito? 3/?
17, sir. Ay, charot, 21.
Okay. Minus 2/?
Over 17.
Okay. 0.3. 0.03. Saan ang 0.03?
Revise pa rin, sir.
Revise pa rin siya. Okay? So, kailangan i-revise yung item. Okay. Naintindihan na ang discrimination index?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, now, theoretically, the index of discrimination can range from 1.0 when DU equals 0 and DL equals 1 to 1.0, negative 1.0 pala yun, range from negative 1.0 when DU equals 0 and DL equals 1 to 1.0 when DU equals 1 and DL equals 0. When the index of discrimination is equal to negative 1, then this means that all of the lower 25% of the students got the correct answer, while all of the upper 25% got the wrong answer. Okay? In a sense, such an index discriminates correctly between the two groups. Tama naman, it can discriminate between the two groups. Marami tama lahat ng sagot nila, ito mali lahat ng sagot nila. But the item is highly questionable. Why is it questionable? If in case that would happen. Bakit questionable siya? Kasi negative 1 ang discrimination index sa computation mo. Ibig sabihin negative 1 is lahat ng mga nandun, all lower 25%, okay, got the correct answer. Yung nasa upper 25%, they got the wrong answer. Though, this result discriminates, the item itself is highly questionable. What makes it highly questionable? Anyone?
Kasi yung index of discrimination niya, sir, is negative 1.
O, tama nga. Pero yun nga yung explanation natin, negative 1 siya. Pero bakit highly questionable siya kahit na it can discriminate? Ito yun, no? Sorry. Ito yung tinutukoy natin. Ito yung tinutukoy natin, class. Ito. Point, negative 1.0, okay, can discriminate but the item is questionable. Bakit siya highly questionable? Kahit it can distinguish the lower group from the upper group. Kasi
Sir, ano po yun?
sabi natin, kapag negative 1 na discrimination index, it can discriminate correctly between the two groups. Pero pag negative 1, it means that the item is highly questionable. What makes it highly questionable, even if it can discriminate the two groups? Anyone?
Try, sir.
Sige. Sino yan? Si?
Sir, kasi po nakakapagtaka kung bakit nakuha ng mga lower group yung answer kaysa sa upper po.
Tama. O kaya nakapagtataka na bakit mas sila pala, lahat sila nasa lower group nakakuha ng tamang sagot kaysa dun sa nasa upper group. Now, we expect, it's naturally that we have to expect that those who are in the upper group should be able to get the correct answer. Tama? So, it's highly questionable. Then, that would mean that we have to discard the item. Sino yung nag-recite?
Rendon, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Rendon. Okay, that's it. Okay. Check natin dito. Yung kanina, 0.70, right difficulty. Okay, so DS niya is 0.34. That is discriminating item. Tama, include, sorry, 0.34. Okay, ito. Itong 00. Ito. Note, look at this. Sorry, dapat yun ay nandun sa, sorry for that. Move lang natin yan. Baka malito kayo. Okay. Yung kanina, ito yung kanina. Tama? Example natin kanina. Look at this. Look at letter E, option E. Ano observation niyo sa option E?
No one get the correct answer.
No one answered E. Tama?
Yes, sir.
No one answered E. Both in the upper group and in the lower group. Now, it is also instructive to note that alternative E here is not an effective distractor since this was never selected by the students. Ito yung sabi na natin ngayon na na to check whether our alternatives, our options are strategically thought of, whether our questions, our alternatives in a multiple choice test are okay as distractors. But if no one have opted, to answer this option, then that would only mean that it is not an effective distractor. How about letter B? Alternative B is also a good distractor as it attracted those in the lower group. Tama? Tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how about this one? Letter A and letter C. Alternatives A and C appear to have a good appeal as distractors. Bakit? Bakit meron silang good appeal? Kasi there are those in the upper group and there are also those in the lower group who answered these letters or these options. Okay? This is what we mean by looking at the effectiveness of alternatives. Okay, we look at the effectiveness of the alternatives. Okay, we look at that. Okay, we check this. There are only two. It's either not effective, good distractor, and good appeal as distractors. These are three options. We check our example here. Okay. Option A. Ano siya? Not effective distractor, good distractor and good appeal, good distractor and good appeal as distractor. Option A.
Magkasapot na parehas ng
Ha? Si option A, ano siya? It is a good
So,
appeal
I think
as...
good appeal distractor.
Okay, good. How about option C?
Same lang din, sir.
Appeal.
Good appeal lang din.
Okay, good. How about option D? Option D, ano siya?
Yung pangatlo dun sa ano, sir. Ano na po kasi yan?
O Yung pinakauna.
Ano po ba?
Sir, yung not effective, sir.
Ha? Not effective. Bakit? Not effective kasi we pause for the prayer. Okay, ito ano to ulit? Ano siya? Letter D, option D. Ano siya dito? 1, 0. 1 in the upper group, 0 in the lower group. It is also
Good distractor.
okay, only a good distractor. Okay, so next meeting we will continue about effectiveness of alternatives. Ay, discuss na natin, konti na lang pala. Okay, this one. For effectiveness of alternatives, alternatives have to be plausible distractors. A distractor which no one selects means it is obviously an incorrect answer. A good item must have distractors that attract more people from the lower group than those at the upper group. Otherwise, it is considered as ambiguous. Okay? So, meaning to say, this one is not a good distractor. This one. Okay? There's another level that we have to examine. This one is not a good distractor. This is because one one from the upper group answered it and no one in the lower group answered it, and this is an incorrect answer. So this is again, this is
Ambiguous.
an ambiguous, okay, item or alternative. Okay, so remember there are 4 types of alternatives. Okay, we have ineffective or not an effective distractor. Second, a good distractor. Third, could appeal as distractors. And last is ambiguous. Okay? So, when we are going to do our item analysis, all these things have to be looked into before we can reuse, before we can recycle, okay, before we can recycle a test item, an objective type of test. Okay? So, did everybody share something today so that I will no longer require you to do the learning takeaway? Villanueva, Takang, Natividad, Dulin, Morgado, Dayag, and Rendon. Sino ang hindi nakapag-share? Urbano and Jude. Okay, may I request everyone, for those who did not share anything, please make use of the chat box to share your learning takeaway. For those who already have recited, you may now leave our room. Again, thank you for attending, and I hope that you have learned something today's discussion. Did you learn something?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes,
For
sir.
those who already have shared, those who I already mentioned, you may now leave our room. And those who didn't share anything, please make use of our chat to share your learning takeaway. We only have three, I think, who failed to recite a while back. So Cisa already have shared. We are still waiting for Jude, Abuan, and Miss Urbano to share their learning takeaway. The others, you may now leave.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye-bye. I'll just post
Bye,
the
sir.
video conference later in the YouTube account, and the link will be provided in the LMS for you to replay and for you to do independent study of the lesson. Because on Thursday, I'll be going to pause the task.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you, Jude, for the sharing. Okay, you may now leave, Jude.